What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And this one I want to talk about Tesla stock and break down something very important about the longer term future of the company. I'm going to be breaking down what's happening with the share price moving forward and what my view is for Tesla for the end of the year, as I still believe that Tesla has a monstrous squeeze in place so long as earnings are decent and so long as Tesla ends up meeting its goals. Now, I know that may sound very crazy to a lot of people, but once you see this video and once I talk about some things that are very important, I believe that right now the market is following seasonality trends very, very well, very closely. So I'm going to break these down for Tesla SPY and the QQQ and break down why it's very probable Tesla has more upside coming for like the more medium term. For the short term, there could be some downside. I just wanted to warn you all about how this is looking. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. Now, this offer ends in just about 1 day from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. So, I was planning on using TradingView for this video, but I had an issue with not just TradingView, but also my recording software. It's not really working for me for the time being. So I was trying to use different ones, and for some reason, everything becomes very laggy when I use TradingView for the other ones. So for now, I'm not going to use TradingView just for today's video. Hopefully, I can get that fixed by tomorrow. And then for the time being, I'm just going to be using Webull for this video and break down some important things on Tesla. Now, one thing worth mentioning about Tesla is there are a lot of bears out there. We saw a slight increase in Tesla's short interest, which I talked about yesterday. But there are two things you will notice about Tesla. Number one is we have this gap down here all the way down to this 215 area. If Tesla loses the 200 EMA, there's a good chance it could come down to fill this gap. So that's a very, very important support on the daily. So the daily 200 EMA. And then also we have this resistance right here at this 280 area. If we break that, we could fill the gap all the way back up to 290. So just some very, very important levels. And Tesla is just continuing to get tighter and tighter and tighter as this thing is going to make a massive move very soon, in my opinion. But I want to break down something else about the markets. Am I a bull? Am I a bear? How is Tesla looking? Well, from a seasonality basis, the market's doing something that's very, very interesting. So seasonality suggests that the market would see some downside in the month of August, some sideways price action, and some downside in September as well. So a little pop tends to happen in September, then like more downside, then even more downside in October before we start to like bounce and we see the market just make a full-on recovery. But the thing about that is that what happened to SPY, at least starting from August? And the answer is that's pretty close to what ended up happening, right? So if you don't believe me, let me just prove this to you. The seasonality trend on the S&P 500, we tend to see the market rally quite nicely during this July period. And hitting this August period, we tend to see the market trade a little sideways before it starts selling off. And then that's very similar to what happened here. We were trading a little sideways, sold off a little bit, traded sideways. Then we got a bigger sell off towards the end of August before we started to push into September. As we approach September, we tend to see the market kind of like push up. Maybe as we start September, before we start to trade sideways again and then sell off. And if you look at September, for SPY, we traded sideways right here. Then we start to sell off in September, which is very similar. And then what happens in October? This is the interesting part. For October, what tends to happen is the market sells off a little bit, sells off a little bit, sells off a little bit. Then we get like a very monstrous pump for about a week and a half to 2 weeks before another sell off starts, right? What happened in October? We sold off a little bit. Then we got a monstrous pump for about 1.5 weeks until the last 2 days when the market started selling off. So this is actually like playing out very nicely and very closely to seasonality for the markets. But the question that now remains is, will the market continue to sink, or is the market going to establish a higher low? I can't really promise anything about that. What we could try doing is, I'm going to just bring back some drawings. Actually, let me not bring on any drawings. I just want to mention that on the monthly, I'm going to actually do this instead. The market is still, forming a bullish structure. To be honest with you, it's still forming a very bullish structure. I want to be watching this very, very carefully. So with the way that the structure is looking, we have a nice cup and handle like formation on SPY that's forming. And then to add on to this, I just want to mention that if you look at how SPY and Tesla relates to one another, they're very similar, right? Very, very similar structures are still developing. on SPY, they tend to like pump together, come down together, pump together, come down, pump together, come down, and almost unison. Same thing on the QQQ, right? Same thing is going on with Tesla, SPY, and the QQQ. They tend to move very similarly. So, could the market drop more going into next week, guys? I want to update you guys on this. Yes, it can. We could see more downside. We could see SPY approach 427, which is going to be a key support, followed by 425 at the lower levels. And then for the November/December period, with this cup and handle forming on the monthly, there's a good chance we're going to see some more upside for a full-on recovery back to the 460 area. Now, so long as there's no like really bad news, a black swan event or anything like that, I hold this view. I think that the market is very manipulated, and you have to remember that the stock market is not the same thing as the economy. Okay, the economy is getting worse, things are contracting, but the stock market is recovering. Stock market is pushing up very nicely, and just look at the last few months, right? When the market was just pushing from the 380s all the way up to 450, the economy kept getting worse, but the market kept pumping. So it just goes to show that there's manipulation that dictates the markets. The market does not have to always crash if the economy is in a bad state. And the stock market could still recover. The stock market, did I say the economy? Because I'm sorry, the stock market does not have to crash if the economy is in a bad state. Let me just correct myself. It has more to do with sentiment, algorithms, manipulation, and all these other factors. So with that being said, okay, I believe that the market has some downside coming for the short term. For the medium term, we're likely going to see some upside for November and December, and we're going to see the market attempt to play this cup and handle very nicely. For the QQQ, it's the same thing in my opinion. We have a cup and handle like formation developing. The QQQ is no different. Now, on the smaller time frames, we have a head and shoulders. Yes, there could be more downside coming. We could see this thing get to the lower 360s, even like 353 could eventually come if we break below that. But for the medium term, right, going into the later months, even if we are a little bearish for the next week or so, we're still going to ultimately be bullish. And I believe that this is going to help Tesla pump as well because of the Cybertruck and etc. So there are a lot of people out there, right? They're saying Tesla's going to crash, Tesla's this and that. Well, I do believe Tesla can see some downside. But for all the people that were saying Tesla's going to crash, it's done for, Tesla was at 100 last year. Now we're at 250. So we're still, making higher highs on the much larger monthly time frames, whether people want to admit that or not. Now, can Tesla just sink a little bit more? If earnings end up not doing, if Tesla doesn't do too well for earnings, if bad things happen, yes, Tesla could sink lower, right? We have a very important structure on the daily. We have a gap down in the very low 200s. So yes, it is possible for us to get one more tank, a big drop for Tesla. It is a possibility. But the thing is, that does not have to last. That does not have to be what happens forever for Tesla. People could argue that we have like a head and shoulders developing on Tesla, which could sneak us down to this lower level. Hey, maybe it's going to happen. If it happens, I'm going to be excited to be buying the dips because I'm very bullish for the long term. I'm also very bullish for the end of the year potentially for Tesla, so long as things are not too horrible. We could tank for the next week or two on Tesla. It's a possibility because of earnings. Okay. Big drops could come depending on how things go, depending on guidance and things like that. Sure. But I'm going to be looking at this as a very, very strong buying opportunity. And I believe that even if Tesla does sink down lower to fill this gap down here, when you zoom all the way out on Tesla, we're still in a giant inverse head and shoulders like pattern. Let me actually pull this up on the weekly. On the weekly, it's a giant inverse head and shoulders that Tesla is in, and it's going to make a full recovery soon. I'm quite confident about that, and I do believe Tesla has immense potential as time goes on. For the short term, for the next few weeks, could we come down to 200 again? Maybe we could, right? But even if that's the case, when you look at this chart, that could still be fine because Tesla would still be holding support for the inverse head and shoulders. As long as it doesn't break below like 150 or something like down there, I mean, this inverse head and shoulders is still in play. So I could see Tesla possibly getting a rug pull, and I'm going to be completely fine with that. Right? We have the gap all the way down to like the 210s. Let that get filled. That's fine with me. If Tesla does not do well for earnings, that's fine. That's okay because long term is bright. It's another buying opportunity. Just like how we were talking about in my previous videos near the end of last year, buying at 100 is a very good place, right? Look at how up investors would be if they bought at 100 like crazy. I'm telling you right now, if this thing sinks to 200, that's a buying opportunity. Not financial advice. I'm not promising it. I'm not telling you to buy. I'm just saying that this is an opportunity. And then for the long term, it's going to pay off like crazy. I don't see Tesla crashing back down to 100 unless like something insanely catastrophic happens. But even if that happens, it's just another buying opportunity because it's going to recover quite quickly. But I believe SPY has that cup and handle. QQQ has the cup and handle on the week on the monthly, and Tesla has an inverse head and shoulders that's in play. It could sink a little bit more back down to the lower 200s and still be in play in this much larger inverse head and shoulders for an eventual recovery and push up for 2024. I think Tesla's going to be bullish. That is my honest view. All right, so I hope this is as clear, guys. There's a possible head and shoulders on Tesla. The 4 hours looking a bit more bearish. Tesla could sink lower for the short term. Next few weeks, yes, Tesla could drop. Next few months, however, it's very probable that Tesla is going to make a full recovery and start pushing very nicely. That is my thesis. That's my view of Tesla. I hope this is as simple as possible. I do apologize for not being able to use TradingView today and like really break down more things, but sometimes obstacles get in the way. I'm just going to push through this, and I should be back with better updates going into tomorrow and beyond. All right, guys, thank you for listening. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Tesla to the moon because the long term is very bright, and peace out.